John Mendez, and this is the next in our how-to series. Last month we looked at the basics of joysticks and IPS boats. This month we're going to cover a couple of little berthing exercises. More traditional boats, we tend to take an approach angle, and on this little example I've got a little bit of wind, a little bit of current, and the wind's stronger than the current, so I'm going into my strongest element. Traditionally what we did was we came with an angle, and as we got closer we pulled the stern on the outer engine just to slow down the boat down and bring it in. And we can do that on an IPS boat. We showed you last month how to make it diagonal. One of the great skills is that we can also make the boat go sideways, and that's one of its joys. So we can actually bring the boat in, parallel it up to the jetty, and then just using those transits move that boat sideways so we land perfectly and we look very controlled. Major advantages are we've got no fore and aft movement, so the chance of losing a fender and scratching it are much reduced, and it allows the crew to step off from a really nice stationary boat onto a nice stationary pontoon. Once we've got that, we'll then look at how do we put it in a smaller space. So we'll come off by coming out parallel, we'll drive forward, stop the boat, rotate like we did last month, keep it nicely positioned on the spot, drive forward, stop the boat, rotate, drive the boat forward into our berth, stop, and then go sideways to bring it on. And that's just allowing us with those transits to reference exactly what's going on all the time and keep maximum control, minimum speed. So having given you a rough idea of the plan, we're approaching our marina. We're just going to go onto a hammerhead firstly to show you the process. So I'm deliberately taking the boat forward just on normal controls, so wheel and throttles, and I'm just going to bring it to close, and then I'm going to swap to the joystick so we can then see how that's going to work. I've got the breeze just off the starboard bow, so it's holding me very slightly off the berth. I've got a little bit of tide on the stern, so fairly standard conditions. Into neutrals on the throttles, press the docking button. The screen on the dash now changes to say docking, just to remind me, and I'm now on the controls. So as I just twist gently now, we can see the boat start to straighten up, and I'm going to take it forward until I'm where I want to dock. So keep going forward, and I'm just thinking of that line down the middle of the boat, lining that up parallel with the pontoon that I'm going onto. I'm not too worried about the parallel at this moment, just want to get my boat stopped and roughly in the right place. Now the berth is only just longer than the boat, so we've got to be fairly accurate. So just bringing it to a halt, and again I'm using a transit, so I've got that centre line on the pontoon lined up with the cleat above on the boat, and now I'm reasonably parallel, just going to have a little twist, and now I'm just going to push very gently sideways, and everything I do is gentle. I don't need to. That's just triggering the depth alarm as we stir up the water with the drives. Again, I've just crept forward a fraction there, so tiny pull astern, and I'm trying to make my boat just go sideways, not forward, not aft, just sideways. Coming across quite nicely there. I'm a little bit more stern in than bow, so let's just do a little twist to straighten up a fraction. Are we a little close down on the bow? Might need to come back just a kiss. Okay, make it stationary again, fore and aft, and then we're just easing her to the side. So everything we're doing is just real gentle. And as she comes on now, we're nicely parallel. And the great thing with this IPS is that as we touch, I can now just very gently lean the boat onto the pontoon and she'll hold there. So in a good breeze, I can demonstrate that the boat will hold on. Now my crew can get off with stern line and then bow line. And the boat is not moving at all. You could go and lean really, really hard, she wouldn't move. So we've got lovely control, nice stationary, coming in sideways. Think back to those squares. We've gone forward 2 squares and then across. Because I'm forcing her on, the moment I let go, she'll come off again, naturally. So having done our straightforward chessboard, come up, stop, across a square, we're now going for the more complicated berth on the inside of that hammerhead. So what we're going to do is we're going to hopefully demonstrate that we go forward a couple of squares, stop, rotate, forward a square, stop, rotate, forward a square, stop, sideways onto the berth. So it'll give you an idea of what I'm referencing and how I'm thinking about the process. So we've left there, I've come out, and now I'm going forward for my square, 2 squares probably. So we're going past this rather nice blue boat. And then someone's nicely placed a large princess in the way there, so we'll just have to be a little bit careful. So as I'm coming forward, I've got the wind gently on the starboard bow, not too fierce, but it will be pushing me into the hole as we turn. So I'm going to the windward end of the hole, so I've got the greatest degree of control. And now I'm going to stop my boat, transiting to the side, see the wind on the flags. Now I'm going to rotate my boat through 90 degrees. And as I turn beam on, the wind will be on the side of the boat. And this is the massive advantage that IPS has. We can push against that wind to make sure that we're happy at all times. I'm sliding very slightly on the transit because of that breeze. Boat's coming around quite nicely. Move back just a fraction on that breeze, so a little push ahead. Finish the rotation. Be careful to catch the boat so I'm not being pushed downwind. So just a little rotation the other way there now, and I'm just watching my transits again. Happy with those. Now I'm going to drive the boat forward a square. And I need to be thinking, where in relation to the space do I want to be? Well, I want me roughly in the middle of the space, and it will depend on the wind, the space, how much tide, all of those items, but roughly myself level with the middle of the space. So just looking at the space there now, transiting again on the bow, just starting to move to starboard, so a little push, looking fore and aft, nicely stationary. Rotate, so here we go again. Just gently turning the boat, being very conscious of the bow and the stern, where everything is, looking at my transits. Coming round quite nicely, being pushed this way by the wind, little push ahead, continue my rotation. Now that bit of breeze is pushing us to starboard, forward and to starboard onto the berth. So we're going to deliberately move the boat away from the berth a little bit. We've got a boat next to us as well, so we've got to get it right. A little rotation here just to straighten them up. And then we're going to drive the boat into the hole. Again, nice and slowly. There's no rush with any of this, and this is where the IPS is good. As long as you're delicate, it gives you a massive amount of control without too much speed. Pushing it nicely forward into the berth. I'm not going near the pontoon at all. I'm deliberately staying a little bit towards our neighbour, so you can see the concept that I'm on about. Bringing the boat in the hole now, nicely in, make the boat stop. Once we get it stopped, same process as we did first time, looking to the side, move the boat gently across, trying to keep that line down the middle parallel with the pontoon. Here comes the pontoon very gently. And then we can lean on again. And there we are. All that moment we've kept stop, pivot, drive, stop, sideways with full control of the boat, referencing those transits. It can look quite cool.